Disclaimer: the footage shown in this video is used for the purpose of critique, and therefore falls under fair use. No copyright infringement is intended, but it's likely that certain companies Sony will try to retaliate with copyright claims, so for my safety, some footage will be replaced with still pictures. Also, if you're going to put something in the comments like, you should stick to making game reviews, I don't care about what you have to say about something I'm not interested in. Please leave the video and continue with your day. The good Lord Bonzi Buddy has spoken. Now enjoy the video.
Thank you, Mr. Garbage Man, for being a jerk. Boy, I am incredibly late on this, but I don't care. 2016 is over, so better late than ever, I guess. So 2016 has been a very interesting year. For me, it was actually a pretty good year. I got to have my name in the credits of a couple Edgeworld episodes, I met a bunch of my favorite YouTubers at Too Many Games, and my nephew Julian was born. Other really neat things happened too. Nintendo unveiled their newest home console, two of my childhood icons both turned 20 years old, America got drunk and made this guy our next president, and tons of famous people died. Now, I'm not going to be one of those people who says that 2016 was the worst year ever, because I don't really think it was. Sure, a lot of terrible stuff happened, and of course the election was just a train wreck. And I'm not just talking about the guy we elected. But look on the bright side. A lot of great movies came out this year. How's that for a segue? By the way, if my hair starts poofing up during this video, I just got out of the shower and I use Perp Plus, so, you know.
Stuff happens.
But anyway, this has actually been a really good year for movies. And since movies are my first love, more so than video games, despite what some of you might believe, I decided it'd be fun to count down a list of my personal favorite movies from the past 12 months. I haven't seen every movie that came out this year, despite how much I really wanted to, but I managed to put together a list of 10. So, without further me talking, I don't know what this was, but roll with me. These are my top 10 favorite movies from 2016. Before I begin this list, I'd like to give an honorable mention to Moana. I was really excited to see it, especially concerning the directors also gave us The Little Mermaid, The Great Mouse Detective, Hercules, The Princess and the Frog, Treasure Planet, and even my favorite Disney movie of all time, Aladdin. Although Moana didn't quite surpass my expectations, I still thought it was really good. Looking back, I really appreciate the movie more for its visuals and the music and the culture. I actually have quite a few movies on my list that are just like this, but I guess Moana sort of lacked in a few areas that kept it from being on the list. While things like the ending are very clever and nice, the story is kinda predictable and the humor doesn't hit. There's an especially awful Twitter joke that just made me facepalm so hard that I think it left a mark. My name is Mark, it's funny! But things like the animation and the culture are fantastic. I love that Disney is incorporating more diversity into their films, and they pay a lot of respect to the Polynesian heritage. I'm also a big Hamilton fan, so I lost it when I heard that Lin-Manuel Miranda was gonna write songs for the movie. All of them are amazing, except for the shiny song that the crab sings. That one's a bit weird. I guess that's all I really have to say about Moana. It has a little bit of that Disney magic that I've missed for so many years, but doesn't really do enough to make it one of my favorite movies of the year. Still very good though, and I recommend you check it out if you haven't. Am I the only one noticing Disney's been going a little crazy with live-action remakes lately? For a while, it seemed like they were announcing a new remake every week, to a point where it stopped being a joke and gave us a deeper look at the greedier side of Disney. And I'm willing to bet that The Jungle Book is what made these popular. Now, that's only the negative side. We're here to look at the positive. The Jungle Book is based on the original Disney film, which itself was based on the Rudyard Kipling book of the same name. I never read the book, nor do I remember that much from the other Disney movie, but most of the original cast of characters is here and accounted for. Mowgli, Baloo, Bagheera, Kaa, King Louie, Shere Khan, the whole bunch. And honestly, there's not really that much to this film. The story's kinda forgettable, the villain isn't as interesting as he was in the original movie, and there are just some weird moments that don't really match the tone. We see Mowgli and Baloo singing Bare Necessities, but it's not necessarily a musical number,
It's used like the Just Keep Swimming song in Finding Nemo. It's something Baloo hums to himself. But then King Louie suddenly breaks into I Wanna Be Like You, like the movie suddenly decides to be a musical, and it comes right out of nowhere. So why am I listing it as one of my favorite movies of 2016? Well, honestly, I just appreciate it more for the visual effects. The CG is pretty incredible. These are the most realistic looking animals I've seen in a very long time. The backgrounds are equally fantastic. Most of the film, if not the entire thing, was shot on a soundstage with blue screens all over, but with the effects work done in this movie, I can't even tell. It's like we're really in Africa. Or India, wherever we're supposed to be. Kudos to the casting director as well. Baloo is a very unpredictable and laid-back kind of character, so Bill Murray fits really well. Scarlett Johansson at first seemed like a random choice for Ka, but her voice does have a seductive quality to it. Scarlett Johansson. Oh, wait, am I still recording? Oh, crap. Ben Kingsley plays Bagheera as a timid father figure trying to find the best for Mowgli. And while Shere Khan in this film doesn't hold a candle to the original, from what I remember anyway, Idris Elba's performance is top-notch. The kid who played Mowgli was just amazing. For someone who had to act off of CG puppets, his interactions with them are so believable. But by far, the best casting choice in the entire movie is Christopher Walken as King Louie. I'm an avid Christopher Walken fan, so this was just a delight. I'm keeping that in. He threatens Mowgli, he sings to Mowgli, he gets summoned by a cowbell. Okay, that's actually kind of ridiculous, but listen to him sing and tell me you don't smile at least a bit.
Ooby-Doo, I wanna be like you. I wanna walk like you, talk like you too.
Just love it. I wanna be like you. Ooh, ooh. So that's The Jungle Book. I was surprised by how much of a technical marvel it was, though I didn't find the story or the characters remarkably interesting, except for King Louie to an extent. But what they accomplished with the visual effects, I think, makes for some of the best CG in any film I've ever seen. I would still prefer if Disney didn't keep remaking their old films. Tale as old as time. But they gotta make a little more money somehow. Like Marvel and Lucasfilm weren't enough. So I don't really mind what they did here. The bare necessities of life sure came to me in some way.
Ta-da!
I wouldn't call myself a die-hard fan of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I only grew up watching commercials for the 4Kids show, but later in life I found myself playing some of the video games, watching bits of the Nickelodeon series, and seeing a couple of the movies. Yes, that even means I've seen the one produced by Michael Bay! I liked it alright. I would have liked to see more of the Turtles, but it still kind of worked as a movie, and William Fichtner just hammed it up like mad. He's rich. Like, stupid rich. His words, not mine. But I hear that most of the hardcore Turtle fans were disappointed with it, which probably explains the direction they took for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows. Not to be confused with the 2013 video game of the same name. How do I know this game exists? The thing about this movie is that there's no coherent plot. It's just a series of events that happens one after the other. Shredder breaks out of jail, creates Bebop and Rocksteady, the Turtles contemplate whether or not they want to become human, Casey Jones does some stuff with a hockey stick and kinda whines about things, April gets put in a skimpy schoolgirl outfit, Baxter Stockman laughs a lot, the Technodrome appears, Krang has a fight with the Turtles, so much stuff happens in this movie! And that can be a big problem for those who aren't entirely familiar with the Ninja Turtle lore. The movie already isn't technically good, but its biggest issue is definitely with the story. It's not a straightforward plot, and there are tons of things that happen in this movie that never go anywhere. Shredder's deal with Krang, Casey Jones wanting to be a detective, the Turtles possibly becoming human. That idea is especially interesting. The outcome would be predictable, but it's never been explored in anything Ninja Turtles related before, at least not that I know of. So yeah, it sounds like this movie's really bad, right? Well, yeah, but I wouldn't call it a complete failure. Out of the Shadows was a lot of fun to see in the theater. The acting was pretty good, the effects are well done, the action's pretty creative. It's just a fun movie. It was fun seeing Bebop and Rocksteady. It was fun seeing the Turtles goof around and go to a basketball game to shoot spitballs at Vern. It was fun to see Krang and the Technodrome invade New York. And I imagine it was fun for some men to see Megan Fox in a schoolgirl outfit. Not for me, of course, it's clearly pandering. Megan Fox is attractive, but I don't need to be reminded of that in a Ninja Turtle movie. Now if it was Scarlett Johansson, that would be a totally different story. Scarlett Johansson. Wait, am I recording again? I'm recording. Stupid. So that's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows. Again, no relation to the game. It's not really good, but it's certainly better than the first movie, and it's a lot of fun to boot. If you're a fan of the Ninja Turtles, as well as a bit of mindless entertainment, though really, what's the difference? You might enjoy it enough. I even have this Out of the Shadows poster on my wall from when I went to see the movie in the theater. And wow, look at that Super Nintendo controller on Donatello's wrist. The D-pad is just a big green circle, and the diamond buttons are just button sliders. I guess the artist never played a video game in his life. It just looks bad. Marvel has had quite a good year, haven't they? With their most recent outing, Doctor Strange, they've proven to us once again that they can still give us some really solid films. It's not as strong as some of their other movies, but it's still pretty damn good on its own. The world-famous neurosurgeon Stephen Strange, played by Benedict Cumberbatch, is involved in, admittedly a pretty over-the-top car accident, and is left unable to use his hands. Turning to Eastern medicine leads him to the Ancient One, who teaches him about the mystical arts and the different dimensions and all sorts of magic stuff, and he pretty much needs to stop the bad guys. It's basically the plot to every Marvel movie, but it's the kind of story we like seeing, so that's okay. The film excels in the visuals. These are some of the greatest effects in any movie I've ever seen, let alone Marvel movie. 2016 was pretty much the year of great CGI, to an extent, and Doctor Strange is no exception. What else is great is that the visuals aren't just there to look cool. They create whole new worlds within our own world, and they're even the center of the climax. There's a scene where Strange reverses time to trap one of the villains in a building that rebuilds itself after being destroyed. Stuff like that makes this movie so creative. Then of course, we have Benedict Cumberbatch. Just watching him on Sherlock has showed me how much of an incredible actor he is, and the role of Doctor Strange continues to show him at his best. Even if his American accent is all kinds of obviously fake. He plays him as cocky and arrogant, then shows genuine confusion and wonder when his spirit is pushed out of his body for the first time. He pulls out all the right emotions at all the right times. Doctor Strange is definitely not one of the best entries in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but some of the things it does to stray away from the typical Marvel formula are very commendable. Instead of having a climax where the city's destroyed and monsters come out of a giant portal, in the end, the city is slowly being put back together, and the hero actually goes inside the portal to stop whatever's going on. It's also a bit heavy on the hospital imagery, so if that makes you squeamish, then watch this movie with caution. If you're able to look past that, then Doctor Strange won't blow your mind in any department other than the visuals, which, again, are spectacular. But if you're just looking for a good, fun, solid Marvel movie, this will definitely get the job done. Open your mind! That sounded way creepier than I thought it would. I knew nothing about Deadpool before I went to see this movie. At first I just thought he was Japan's version of Spider-Man. Then I saw the test footage online and I thought, okay, this guy doesn't seem like a typical superhero. And then I saw him on the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon, where he was voiced by Ron Stoppable and Eric from Boy Meets World. Then I saw the movie, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Deadpool is a mercenary for hire named Wade Wilson, played by Ryan Reynolds. After he's diagnosed with cancer, he goes through an experiment led by Ajax, also known as Francis, where he's given a bunch of mutant chemical stuff until he becomes disfigured and develops an accelerated healing factor that pretty much makes him unkillable. Now his basic goal is to get Francis to make him look like Ryan Reynolds again, quote, screen junkies, until his girlfriend gets in trouble and then he has to go save her, all while making the typical sex and fourth wall jokes you'd expect Deadpool to make. I just hit a wire on my microphone. Whoosh. This movie is the perfect example of fans making a difference. Ever since the character's questionable appearance in X-Men Origins Wolverine, fans have been clamoring for a proper Deadpool movie, and their response was so overwhelming that Fox pretty much had no choice but to do what they were told. And they didn't just lazily mush something together for the sake of getting a movie made, they gave Ryan Reynolds and his team the time and effort they needed to really do Deadpool justice. I'm assuming, anyway, knowing Fox, they're kind of unpredictable, so I am so glad that a movie like this exists. In a time where superhero movies are pretty much everywhere, here we have a movie where the main character is talking to the audience, joking about things like how the studio could only afford to give them 2 X-Men, and basically doing all the things a normal superhero wouldn't do on film. I'm a sucker for fourth wall jokes, and Deadpool had a bunch of them, which made me laugh. And yeah, when we get to the revenge part of the movie, it does sort of play out like a typical revenge story. But since Deadpool was already aware that he was a fictional character, I think it gives him more of a right to point out the cliches, and it makes the fourth wall jokes even funnier, so I don't really mind it. And really, it all just comes down to Ryan Reynolds. This guy pretty much is Deadpool. He's charismatic, intimidating, and downright hilarious. There's never part of the film where I look at him and see an actor giving a performance. It's like watching Michael Keaton as Batman, or Christopher Reeve as Superman, or even Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. He just owns it. I could watch him slaughter innocent people and spit on each of their graves and still love watching him. I'm not saying I want to watch that, but look, bottom line, he's awesome. To quote Max Bialystock from the producers, Deadpool as a movie is shocking, outrageous, insulting, and I loved every minute of it. Some people might be turned off by the amount of blood and gore there is compared to other superhero movies out there, but if they're willing enough to challenge themselves, then I'd say this would be a fun movie to check out, especially if they're a fan of its sense of humor. You can bet that I am super hyped for the sequel. Huh, an original idea. Didn't expect to see one of these here. A lot of you, I'm sure, will have no idea what I'm talking about right now. And if it hadn't been for the film's leading actor, Green Day frontman Billy Joe Armstrong, I wouldn't have either. The film is about a former punk rocker named Perry White, played by Billy Joe, who's going through a midlife crisis just as he's turning 40 years old. So he decides to have a little fun and rent out an expensive hotel room for the night and throw himself a party. With a plot like this, you may think it's going to be guilty of falling under some cliches, and at first that's what I thought. The hotel owner warns him if he gets in trouble, then he'll call the police, and you'd think he's going to be all rebellious and stuff, but the film is paced out in a very grounded and realistic way, and it focuses a lot more on what Perry is feeling as he's getting older. He also misses being in a band with his friends and touring across the country, schmoozing women, playing rock and roll music, so he has to deal with trying to adjust to living a normal life as well. Billy Joe Armstrong plays both sides of his personality almost perfectly. This movie really shows off the best of his acting abilities. He's played some small roles in the past, but this is the first time he's played the lead in a movie, and the role of Perry White was pretty much made for him. Such a good actor. Like the Ringo of the group, even though he's the front man. This analogy's not working, never mind. He can be really funny in this movie too. There's a scene where his friend Gary, played by Fred Armisen, invites a stripper into his room to dance for him, and all he's worried about is if his friends don't put coasters under their drinks. He wants to let loose and have some fun, but he's such a dad that he can't help himself. Billy Joe also wrote some great songs for the film. The title song is one of the nicest sounding songs Billy Joe's written since Wake Me Up When September Ends. It's even on the Revolution Radio album. It's the last song. It's actually a nice fitting way to end that album. Works in both contexts. I'm getting off topic, aren't I? All in all, Ordinary World is a very well written and well directed film. It has an interesting setup, a good cast, and depicts the struggles of a man trying to keep up with his age in a really unique way. It sort of makes me more proud to be such a big Green Day fan, because if I wasn't, then I wouldn't have heard of such a good movie. I'm not gonna act like it's the greatest movie ever or anything, can't be if it's number 6 on my list, but it was a pleasant surprise for me, and I highly recommend you check it out. It's on YouTube for about $15, so give it a watch and see what you're missing.
You have reached the end of part 1. The good Lord Longlybuddy suggests you click the annotation on the upper left to go to part 2. Or you can subscribe for more videos, check out some other videos, follow Super Smash 3DS on social media, or pledge to his Patreon. Thank you.